The German crowds have been so enthusiastic and so knowledgeable. It's been exciting sitting in the same stadium with them over the last week and a bit. They really know their athletics, and they've come out in force. 55,000 people for all the night sessions and for many of the day sessions. Next event, the last event on the program of the World Championships, the 4x400 metres. There's every chance the world record could be broken here. Let's go to the semi-final last night and the Americans in action. In the previous heat, New Zealand ran a national record of 3:05.84. They were out of the placings, but they'll be pleased with that. In this, the French, the United States, Mexico, Algeria, Japan. That's from inside out. First two to automatically qualify. The Americans, overwhelming favourites to win the gold medal. The British have had some tremendous teams of late. They beat them in the World Championships 2 years ago, but they're down this year. And if anything, the Americans are up. In this, they're running Andrew Valmon into Antonio Pettigrew, Derek Mills and Michael Johnson. Already they're well clear of Mexico, who was outside of them, and they've got up to Algeria, who are 2 lanes outside of them. Valmon, who was 4th in their Olympic trials, or their World Championship trials, hands over the baton to Antonio Pettigrew. Now, Pettigrew was the individual gold medalist in Tokyo 2 years ago. So they've got a tremendous team here. Pettigrew's away. Algeria second. Maurice running the second leg for them. Third, France. Hilaire running for them. They would be favoured over Algeria, although they trail them by about 5 metres at the moment. Japan, too, from the back, have had very good teams in the last 2 years, but they're down a bit. They're running most of their hurdlers here. Karubi running this leg. And in 5th placing is Mexico. Valin running the leg. So Pettigrew, about 15 metres up. France is moving past Algeria. It's been a very good leg by Hilaire. He moves through to second, Algeria third, and Japan also closing on Algeria. The baton goes to Derek Mills, who was number 6 in the World Championship trials. The margin's about 25 metres. France is second. Noiro gets the baton for France. Third, Algeria. Salhado's got it for Algeria, and Sato, the top Japanese hurdler, 400-metre hurdler, is in 4th place. There's Derek Mills, very fast man in the 44s. Michael Johnson to take it last. No team this year has broken 3 minutes. That should change tonight in this semi-final. France in second placing. Noiro. Japan's moved through very strongly. Sato's run a great leg. Algeria 4th. Johnson gets the baton at 2:13. They're on for a fast time, the Americans. The world record's 2:55.74. That could go in the final. Rapinoe moves away for France second. Ono for Japan third. Boumedienne for Algeria's 4th, but there's Michael Johnson, very relaxed. He was part of that 4x400 world record team in Barcelona. Did not run the ankle on that occasion. That was Steve Lewis that ran it. There's Rapinoe's in second placing of France. He is holding the Japanese and the Algerian at this stage. But Johnson, well, the world record 2:55.74. The championship record's 2:57.29. Johnson's easing off, so he's not going to challenge either of those. Rapinoe's holding second, and Japan third. Oh, the Americans stroll home in 2:58.72. They'll save their records for the final. Japan third placing and France second, so the French automatically qualify, and I think the Japanese will miss out. And they did, as we come to the final with Russia in 1, Jamaica 2, Kenya 3, Germany 4, United States 5, Cuba 6, France 7, Bulgaria in 8.
Well, once again, the traditional finish to this World Championships, the finish to any major tournament. We'll be at World Championships, Olympic Games, European Championships, World Cup, you name it. The men's 4x4 always brings the curtain down. And I couldn't think of a better way to the curtain to come down than for a world record. And believe you me, this team of Andrew Valmon, Quincy Watts, Butch Reynolds and Michael Johnson is more than capable of rewriting the record book here today in Stuttgart.
Well, we saw the semi-final where they ran 2:58.72 with Johnson easing off. Now the changes here, Watts comes in for Pettigrew and Reynolds comes in for Mills.
Well, Watts the Olympic champion, Butch Reynolds the world record holder. And not to knock Derek Mills and Antonio Pettigrew, but they really couldn't carry those two athletes' bags to the ground.
Well, Horton will run the anchor for Jamaica. The Kenyan team's very strong. Ochi and Kenboy Kitur all made the final of the 400 metres.
Kenya are very strong. Cuba present a very good quartet out there, and there'll be enormous support for the Germans.
Leader, Just Hensa Schönlebe. Schönlebe, former world champion in his own right. He beat Butch Reynolds. And Hernandez was fourth in that final in 1987 in Rome. Here's the Americans. Valmon, Watts, Reynolds, Johnson. They broke the world record last year with Steve Lewis anchoring. Johnson ran and Watts ran. Steve Lewis not there. Now Garcia, Herrera, Teles. Hernandez was very good in the semi-final. Didn't run in the individual here. He's been the great Cuban of the last 7 or 8 years. And the French bring Diagana in as their anchor, who ran so brilliantly in the 400-metre hurdles.
Yeah, he'll run very well. Traditionally an event where 400-metre hurdlers do very well, and we just think a couple of minutes ago, we saw Sally Gunnell actually go past the 400 flat bronze medalist Sandy Richards on her leg to secure a bronze medal for Britain. Diagana is very good.
Akabusi 2 years ago, the 400-metre hurdler, went past the world champion Antonio Pettigrew in the final leg for Britain.
Exactly. You proved my point, Bruce.
There's leader of Germany, Rico Leader. The Germans will be cheered home here, but they'll be out of the medals. If you had to go 1, 2, 3, the US and Kenya and maybe Cuba.
Yeah, I think you've got the trifecta there. Would you care to give me the correct order now?
US, Kenya, Cuba.
Thank you.
And the world record 2:55.74. There have been 17 championship bests set at these world championships so far, and 4 world records.
Lovely to finish up with 5 in this Gottlieb Daimler Stadion. You drive a Gottlieb, don't you, Bruce?
2:12 and a bit, the time that Johnson has to get the baton when he goes on the anchor.
So Valmon, first leg for the USA. Even though he doesn't ever run the individual flat, he is a magnificent relay runner, and he'll give the USA a great lead here, I'm sure.
So they're set. Away, Russia from the inside with Kliger. No, break. Lane 4, probably the Germans. Leader might have been a bit anxious there. It was a late recall.
The German crowd are very quiet, and I think they realise, and rightly so, that Rico Leader was a little bit too anxious to get things going there. So, lane 4 has been nominated. Germany, the team that infringed, has been warned. Do that again, and you'll watch the race from the stands.
Here's the replay. Leader up before anyone else, bringing out Ochieng of Kenya in lane 3.
As distinct from a lot of other events, Bruce, there's a very eerie silence around the stadium here tonight. I don't know whether people are expecting a world record or just perhaps the realisation that the championships are nearly over. But I'm certain they'll be cheering the US on to hopefully set a new figure here today.
Here's Valmon. Leader, who would be a little nervous. The adrenaline would be flowing.
See if Leader is away slowly here, Bruce.
Well, he waited a bit, but got away reasonably well from the outside. Bulgaria, France in 7, Cuba, well, Garcia's gone out hard. Valmon in 5, in 4 leader. In lane 3, Ochieng. O'Connor for Jamaica's taken a bit of ground off him, and then Kliger.
Valmon is very famous for his second bend of his race, and this is where he expects to power through, and the Americans will be looking for him to keep on powering down that stretch, and as we speak, he's starting to move very solidly.
Valmon taking some ground now off Garcia. Remember, it's a 500-metre stagger, and if he gets up alongside of him, it'll give the Americans a very big lead. France in lane 7, and look at the Cubans tie up. The Kenyans are well back. Valmon's run a big leg by the look of it. Goes over to Quincy Watts. Watts is away now. They're on for a fast one, the Americans. The Germans are probably second with the Russians at the moment. Kenya now starting to come through with Herrera. Unofficial split 44-44 for Valmon as Watts takes the back straight.
Now Watts with a lot to prove. In the 400 metres flat, of course, he suffered a blowout. His shoe fell to bits. Not very good for the shoe manufacturer and his sponsor. But he's got a lot to prove today, and prove it he is doing. He is starting to pour away from this field. He tends to put on a surge as soon as he straightens for home, and look for him to gain even more ground now down the stretch.
Kemboy moves through to second. The Germans are third. The Russians and then the French. Watts about to give the baton over to the world record holder, Butch Reynolds. It's clean. Reynolds away, puts it in his right hand. In second placing, the Germans take off. That's Henser, their 400-metre hurdler. The Russians with Vodovin is next. The French are coming through. The Kenyans are back into 5th placing as Butch Reynolds goes down the back. Another 44 for Watts.
Now Butch Reynolds is not wanting to tie up here. He's gone out very fast. Normally in his races he does like to come home hard and perhaps run a little bit, shall we say, easily early. But with the big crowd spurring him on, they're about 50 metres in front, and Butch is going to power all the way down the straight to hand over to Michael Johnson.
The critical time here is in the 2:12 to 2:13 bracket. If he gets the baton to Johnson in the low 2:12s, the world record's on. It's on. You watch this. 2:55.74 is the world record. Watch it go. Johnson in the back straight. Russia second. Germany third. 4th France. 5th Kenya. Reynolds ran 43.3. Johnson should take the world record. It's 2:55.7.
And this compact little runner is on the motorbike now. He's got the arms pumping and the legs pumping, and away he goes.
The battle for second and third. Russia, Germany, Kenya. Kitur coming home. Watch for the clock. Will we end with a world record? 55.74. There's the battle for the minors. Kenya, Germany, and also Russia. Back to Johnson now. The time, 55.74. He's going to be inside it. Look at the world record. Smashes it to pieces. Kenya flying with Kitur. Germany get third. What a way to finish. What an ending. The grand finale. Johnson's unofficial split will be the fastest of all time of 42.9. It's unofficial, but 2 men have got it here. We've got the British statistician and Paul Jeans from our group. And Johnson's broken 43 with a running start. Never been seen before. Watts had it at 43.1 before that at the Olympics.
Well, the scoreboard has just put it up, and in case you don't understand English, it says Welt record, that's German, and Record du Monde, that's French. I'll tell you again, world record. And there they are. What a foursome. Valmon to Watts, to Reynolds, to Johnson.
And some of the splits that we're getting, and the Germans are celebrating too. 44.6 Valmon, 43.5 Watts, 43.4 Reynolds, and 42.9 Johnson.
Well, I don't think we've seen the best of Michael Johnson as a flat runner yet. 42.99. It's almost getting incomprehensible.
And Kitur at 43.8 unofficial coming through for second, because Kenya was in all sorts of trouble with a lap to go.
The one thing I'll say, Bruce, the standard of this race is incredible. I don't know how many teams have run under 3 minutes, but I think an awful lot. Even though, having said that, the realisation were that the Americans were way, way in front. Michael Johnson, with that familiar little choppy action of his, looked like he was on a motorbike, and you would have had to catch a taxi to catch him.
Well, the world record set in 1968 of 2:56.16 stood until 1988, when the Americans equalled the world record in Seoul. They then took it in Barcelona in 1992. And boy, in 2 years have they made some progress. Remember, the Brits beat them 2 years ago in Tokyo. What a change here. The British not into the final, and this surely the greatest team we've ever seen.
2 years in Tokyo, I think the only one of these who ran was Quincy Watts, was it not?
Yes, well, certainly Reynolds didn't, and Johnson didn't. And I think Valmon
may have.
Yes,
He may have.
he
Quincy
did.
Watts was a very inexperienced runner at that stage, just a sophomore at the University of Southern California. But I'll tell you what, he had a lot to prove today, and prove it he did. And I can only think back and say, well, he might not have won the 400 metres had his shoe not blown out, but I'm certain he would have perhaps got a medal, because he looked an awesome runner there today.
There's a result, and to take 1.5 seconds off what is a great mark in itself is an epic performance. Kenya, Germany, 2 and 3. France a national record, the Russians a national record, the Cubans, Jamaica and Bulgaria. It is staggering to think that they can take 1.5 seconds off a world record, and when we saw them running in Barcelona last year, we knew at the time we were seeing the very best, but now we've seen something quicker. Here was the struggle for second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth, and Kitur, who's run 43.8, the bronze medalist from the 400 metres, cutting down Schönlebe, the former world champion, but Schönlebe did his bit and hung on for Germany.
He hung on well. The crowd were roaring him on. Kitur was too good. Diagana, the Frenchman, the quarter hurdler, who you predicted would run a good leg. And here's Hernandez coming. What a battle. What a battle royal for the bronze.
What great names there too, Maury. I know Hernandez and Schönlebe go back a bit, but they have been two of the very best 400-metre runners throughout the 80s, and Kitur now in the 90s. But here's Johnson. Oh, so relaxed. What a strange style he has. What a strange action, but so effective.
What a strange way he carries the baton too, right down the bottom of the baton, right down the bottom of the stick. He's got his eyes on the clock as he comes in to finish. He knows this is something special. Go, Mike.
Well, I think Reynolds realised that when he handed it over in about 11, that Johnson was going to take the world record. Now the realisation.
I don't know, he's a bit tired. Running 42 seconds makes you very tired, you know, Bruce.
Well, the lactic would build up slightly. The acid would be coming. And there's Quincy Watts. That angelic face of his with Butch Reynolds and Andrew Valmon. They are something extra, aren't they? The 4x4 from America. They've always been a highlight, a standout at any championships.
Well, we mentioned it before the race, Bruce. I hate to reiterate, but I will. What a way to finish the program.
Perfect, really. 5 world records at these world championships. And I must say they've been the most celebrated and successful of all the world championships since Helsinki 83, Rome 87, Tokyo 91. This has been the great one. In 93 in Stuttgart, I think from a competition point of view, it's more than match what we saw in Barcelona last year, Seoul in 88 and Los Angeles in 84.
Yeah, the superlatives keep flowing off the tongue, and rightly so. This has been fantastic. The competition, every event, it's getting better, it's getting harder, and you've just got to be so good to be there amongst them.
And for the athletes and some of their agents who said that we shouldn't be having world championships every 2 years, well, think what we would have missed. Think what we would have missed. We would have seen none of this over the last 9 days.
Do those people look like they didn't want to be here, Bruce?
Well, they're now professionals. The sport's gone through some rapid changes. And I think probably in 2 years' time, we'll see even more changes at the next championships in Gothenburg.
Well, that may be so, but for the moment, the Americans savouring the glory of another gold and a stunning world record.
So there we are. On the left, Watts. Next to him, Reynolds, Johnson and Valmon as they take the gold medal in the world record. We take a break. Closing ceremony still to come from Stuttgart.